Today on Chef John Cooks, I'm going to show you how to make this delicious white truffle potato gnocchi and turn it into this fabulous dish. Let's get started. We'll need 2 to 3 tablespoons of brown butter, so we'll add the butter to the cold pan over medium heat. While our butter is browning, we'll take this time to prepare our potatoes. We'll start by peeling them and then putting them through a food mill. Here you can see our finished brown butter is a beautiful brown color and a nice nutty aroma. We're only going to need about half this, so we're going to go ahead and add this to our potatoes. We'll add 2 egg yolks with the whites thoroughly removed next. I'll add 1 tablespoon of this truffle oil, eighth of a teaspoon of nutmeg, half a tablespoon cracked black pepper, 2 teaspoons of salt. Then I'll go ahead and mix that together until uniform. Once well mixed, we're going to go ahead and add a half a cup of flour. We're going to mix this flour in gently because we don't want to form a lot of gluten with this dough. Then we're going to dump it onto a floured surface and knead it slightly. I'll start with a generous amount of flour on the surface. Spread it out nicely and thinly, and then push the excess to the side for later. Turn the dough onto a floured surface, and then bring the dough together by gently pressing and folding the dough on top of itself, incorporating small amounts of flour until the dough becomes a uniform mass. The dough should be soft and smooth and not stick to anything. It's now time to roll the dough out and then cut the gnocchi. So you want to work with maybe like a quarter of the dough at a time and just roll it out into a long, narrow log. From there, we're just going to take a dough cutter and cut it into about 3/4 to 1 inch lengths. We end up making these little dough pillows. And from there, we're going to roll them on a gnocchi board to give them their classic shape. Remember to lightly flour your gnocchi board before doing this. And so the best method is to take the gnocchi, put it in the middle of the board, take one finger and press it in the middle to indentation, and then roll it over onto itself to create that classic gnocchi shape. Here you can see the finished gnocchi before it goes in the freezer. We're going to start to create our dish, and we're going to need some asparagus. So first we're going to start by cutting off 1.5 inches or 2 inches of the bottom of the asparagus, whatever doesn't look good. We'll discard that. And then we'll cut the asparagus into 1.5 inch lengths or so. Next, we're going to need some cheese. So today I'm using Pecorino Romano, and we're just going to hand shred that up. You can also use Asiago, or you could use a good Parmigiano Reggiano, a Grana Padano, something sharp, funky, dry-aged Italian cheese. Something along those lines. About a half a cup will do. Next, we're going to need a chicken breast. We're going to cut this up into bite-sized pieces. We're going to start by just trimming off any sinew or excess fat. We are then going to cut it in chunks, but first slices the breast lengthwise into 5 or 6 slices, and then we'll go back through and cut it into a 3/4 inch dice. We will also need some minced rosemary, so we're just going to take and finely mince this fresh rosemary. With our components prepped, we can go ahead and put our dish together. I start by adding a couple of tablespoons of vegetable oil to a screaming hot pan, and you can see that the oil starts to smoke almost immediately. This is how hot we want it because we want to saute our chicken and we do not want it to stick. So the first thing I do is I'll add the chicken to the middle of the pan, but I won't spread it out right away because I don't want it to cool down the pan. I'll allow the chicken to cook unseasoned and without moving it around, allowing it to caramelize and brown on the one side, and this will keep it from sticking and also give us the flavor that we're looking for. I'm allowing this chicken to cook in real time so you can see exactly how long it takes and what it's going to look like. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some pepper and salt before I stir it up. And when I stir it up, I'm only going to gently turn it over. I'm not going to be moving around a lot. It's at this point I'm going to check the chicken to see if it's browning and if it's not sticking. And you see I just gently tap the chicken, and you can see it's moving away from the pan without much effort. That means it's not sticking to the pan, and it's getting a nice caramelization. And you can see I just move it around. I just want to gently check it and gently move the pieces around. I don't want to cool this pan down by agitating all of this chicken at one time. I'll finish turning any pieces of chicken that are raw over and ensure that we're browning on both sides. After a few more minutes of cooking, this is what your chicken will look like. Push it to the side of the pan and then add a couple more tablespoons of vegetable oil and allow it to get hot. Add lots of sliced fresh garlic and allow it to brown. Once our garlic takes on some color, we'll go ahead and add our asparagus and allow that to cook. Go ahead and mix the asparagus in with your chicken and your garlic, and then add a generous tablespoon to 2 of whole butter. It's at this point we're going to go ahead and fry our gnocchi. Now, I preferred fried gnocchi over boiled for texture. The fried gnocchi ends up with this nice crispy, pillowy texture on the inside versus boiled gnocchi, which is softer and more mushy. You can still see the chunk of butter. It's about half melted down. We're going to go ahead and add our rosemary, and I've added the rest of the brown butter from making our gnocchi as well. We're going to season at this point with fresh ground black pepper and fresh ground sea salt. At this point, we're going to add our truffle oil, and we're going to just drizzle this right in, about a tablespoon's worth. You can see our gnocchi is almost done. It's starting to brown up. It's at this point that the butter in this pan is getting nice and browned up, getting that nice nutty flavor, and it's just about ready. Here's our final product of fried gnocchi. We'll go ahead and add it to our pan and toss this all together, allowing the butter to coat. It's time to add the cheese. Once you get the cheese in there, go ahead and stir it all up, and it's ready to try. And here it is, the final dish. White truffle potato gnocchi with rosemary and brown butter. And it's so good. This is one of my just absolute favorite dishes in the world. It is such a comfort food for me and just makes my heart happy. I hope you enjoy this recipe and enjoyed learning how to do this. Please subscribe.